Chapter 31. You are listening at novelfull.audio. They faced each other, the tension thick in the air. Are you sure about this? Feng Yanli asked, his voice tight. Positive. Jiang Hao and Chen Fan definitely had dinner together last night at Wangjiang Pavilion, his confidant replied, nodding with conviction. Zheng Xingda's driver, the one I paid off, told me everything. Damn it. Feng Yanli slammed his fist on the table, his face reddening with anger. Luckily, I had a backup plan, or I would have been totally screwed today. He sneered, the anger not entirely masking a hint of satisfaction. He'd worried something like this might happen and made some contingency plans yesterday. Now, those plans were his lifeline. That bastard Jiang Hao actually went to see Chen Fan behind my back. At this crucial moment, Jiang Hao snuck off to have dinner with Chen Fan. What else could that be about? Clearly, Jiang Hao was planning to betray him and team up with Chen Fan to take him down. But no matter what deal you two clowns cooked up, it's a waste of time. I'm still going to win in the end. Feng Yanli declared, a confident smirk spreading across his face. Now let's go. We have some arrangements to finalize. With that, Feng Yanli and his right-hand man left to set their plans in motion, ready to counter the supposed alliance between Chen Fan and Jiang Hao. Time ticked by. At 9:30 a.m., the Tinfei Group's main conference room was packed with shareholders and senior executives. Jiang Hao arrived first, followed closely by Feng Yanli and his entourage. Feng Yanli flashed Jiang Hao a knowing smile, but held back his attack. So, Mr. Jiang, is everyone here? Most are. A few shareholders and executives couldn't make it due to other commitments, Jiang Hao replied. Feng Yanli scanned the room, nodding in satisfaction. A few absentees won't matter. A low murmur filled the room as the executives and shareholders wondered why, after a recent high-level meeting, they were being called together again so soon. Quiet, everyone. I know you're all curious about why we're holding this meeting. I'm about to tell you. Feng Yanli announced, his voice booming. The room fell silent, all eyes on Feng Yanli. We're gathered here today to... Just then, Chen Fan walked in. Isn't this Mr. Chen, our group's third-largest shareholder? Feng Yanli said with a sneer, turning to Jiang Hao. Mr. Jiang, I'm sure you and Mr. Chen are well acquainted, aren't you? Huh? Jiang Hao stammered, looking flustered. What do you mean? What do I mean? Didn't Mr. Jiang have dinner with Mr. Chen at Wangjiang Pavilion last night? How can you pretend you don't know what I'm talking about? Feng Yanli pressed. Jiang Hao and Zheng Xingda exchanged horrified glances. How did Feng Yanli find out about their dinner with Chen Fan? Only they knew about it. Chen Fan, however, remained cool, unfazed by the revelation. The contingency plans he'd made the night before were proving to be essential. Jiang Hao, don't think you can take me down just by teaming up with Chen Fan. You're out of your league. Feng Yanli declared arrogantly. Today, I've called you all here to vote Chen Fan out of the company's leadership. A collective gasp filled the conference room. Ousting the company's third-largest shareholder was no small matter. If it hadn't come from Feng Yanli, the second-largest shareholder, nobody would have believed it possible. Kick me out. I think it's you, Feng Yanli, who should be kicked out of this company. Chen Fan retorted, stepping forward to face Feng Yanli head-on. Feng Yanli wanted to kick him out, but he also wanted to kick Feng Yanli out. This is the task given to him by the system. Seeing Chen Fan's words, the whole audience started to discuss again, and finally, the scene, everyone turned to Jiang Hao. With the second and third largest shareholders at each other's throats, whose side the largest shareholder took was critical. I agree with Mr. Chen's proposal to remove Feng Yanli from the company's leadership and bar him from any further involvement in company affairs. Jiang Hao announced without hesitation, deciding to stand with Chen Fan. While most expected Jiang Hao to side with Chen Fan, given his well-known feud with Feng Yanli, a few began to thought that Feng Yanli was doomed, but Feng Yanli just laughed. You think you can kick me out of the leadership, out of the company? Do you and Chen Fan really have what it takes? Jiang Hao holds 22.5% of the company's shares, and Chen Fan has only 12%. Together, that's just 34.5%, less than 50%. You can dream on. Only 34.5%. We may not have 50%, but you only have 20.3%. What makes you so arrogant? Jiang Hao shot back. What makes me so arrogant? I'll show you. Feng Yanli spun around, addressing the other shareholders. I propose that Chen Fan be removed from the leadership and kicked out of the company. Who's with me? I am. I support it. 3 or 4 smaller shareholders quickly raised their hands. Jiang Hao scoffed. These were Feng Yanli's cronies, and their combined shares only amounted to 2.7%, a negligible amount, but then, Feng Lei, the company's 4th largest shareholder and traditionally a neutral party, stood up. I support Mr. Feng's proposal to remove Chen Fan from the company. Feng Lei held a full 10% of the company's shares, making his support significant. Jiang Hao was stunned. When had Feng Yanli managed to sway Feng Lei, a notoriously independent voice? Even with Feng Lei's support, Feng Yanli only controlled 33% of the shares, still less than Jiang Hao and Chen Fan combined. Jiang Hao was about to breathe a sigh of relief when something even more shocking happened. I also support Mr. Feng's proposal to remove Chen Fan from the company. Me too. I'm with Mr. Feng. 2 more major shareholders, Meng Dong and Dong Ziyan, stood up and declared their allegiance to Feng Yanli. Meng Dong and Dong Ziyan's combined holdings totaled 12.1%. With their support, Feng Yanli's control surged to 45.1%, surpassing Chen Fan and Jiang Hao's holdings. In an instant, the tables had turned. Chen Fan and Jiang Hao were at a clear disadvantage, their backs against the wall. Chapter 32. You are listening at novelfull.audio. They were both in full-blown panic mode. The atmosphere was charged. Jiang Hao was freaking out. This was a disaster. You. Jiang Hao glared at Meng Dong, Dong Ziyan, and the others. These people usually stayed neutral in the company, avoiding the power struggle between him and Feng Yanli. Otherwise, Jiang Hao and Feng Yanli wouldn't have been locked in such a stalemate, but now, how could these 3 neutrals all be siding with Feng Yanli? Why? Jiang Hao felt a wave of despair wash over him. He and Chen Fan had lost, a complete and utter defeat, and with the backing of these shareholders, Feng Yanli would drastically weaken his control over Linhai Group. He and Chen Fan were done for. Compared to Jiang Hao's anger, Feng Yanli was beaming, a wide, bright smile plastered across his face. This was his trump card, the reason he'd remained so confident even after hearing that Chen Fan and Jiang Hao had teamed up. Despite his initial anger, with the support of Dong Ziyun and the other 2, he had nothing to fear from Chen Fan and Jiang Hao. As for how he'd managed to buy off these longtime neutrals, the answer was simple. The Kong Group had lent a hand. Without the Kong Group's help, he never could have swayed those difficult holdouts. Now, with these 3 shareholders in his corner, Feng Yanli was fully confident he could crush Chen Fan and his allies. Chen Fan, get ready to pack your bags. Feng Yanli looked at Chen Fan, unable to hide his excitement and triumphant grin. Get out of the company. You think? Chen Fan retorted calmly. Feng Yanli thought he was holding all the cards, but he had a few of his own. You only control 45.1% of the shares, not even half. What makes you so sure? Chen Fan challenged. You think you have something up your sleeve? You're acting like you do. Feng Yanli sneered. Guess what? We do. Chen Fan casually tossed a few contracts onto the table. Just yesterday, I personally acquired 11.2% of Linhai Group's shares. That gives me a total of 23.2%, making me the largest shareholder. Chen Fan announced. Chen Fan had completed a system task yesterday and received 8% of the company shares. Last night, worried about potential trouble today, Chen Fan had contacted the private banker assigned to him by the First Royal Bank of the oil country, requesting assistance in contacting Linhai Group's shareholders. He aimed to acquire about 3% of the shares. Chen Fan also wanted to test the first royal bank of the oil country's claim that they could fulfill all their clients' needs. Sure enough, the first royal bank of the oil country didn't let Chen Fan down. Just an hour or two later, the bank manager contacted Chen Fan, informing him that they had located two small shareholders of Linhai Group willing to sell their combined 3.2% stake. That night, Chen Fan met with the two and finalized the share acquisition contracts. Just like that, Chen Fan had easily become the new majority shareholder of Linhai Group. That's why so many group shareholders were absent today. Their shares had already been sold to Chen Fan. What would be the point of coming? He now possessed 23.2% of the shares of Linhai Group, combined with Jiang Hao's 22.5% of the shares and 6.1% of shares held by Jiang Hao's close associates, and now they were over 50%. When Chen Fan dropped that bombshell, the whole room erupted in an uproar. What? Mr. Chen acquired 11.2% of the shares. Oh my God, I never thought Mr. Chen would end up becoming the biggest shareholder. Everyone was buzzing with shock and disbelief. Nobody had seen this coming, even Jiang Hao was stunned. He hadn't anticipated Chen Fan's move either. In a single day, Chen Fan had acquired 11.2% of the group's shares, surpassing him to become the new top shareholder. He had been playing games with Chen Fan, trying to squeeze concessions out of him, hoping to install his own people within the group and maintain control. But in the end, all his efforts had been for nothing. As for Feng Yanli, he was completely speechless, his face a mask of disbelief. No, it can't be true. This can't be happening. Feng Yanli cried out in denial. These Linhai Group shareholders were notorious for clinging to their shares, otherwise, he would have acquired those shares long ago and overtaken Jiang Hao. You must be lying, you have to be. Feng Yanli stumbled forward and grabbed the share acquisition contracts Chen Fan had tossed onto the table, his hands trembling. He scrutinized every word, and the more he looked, the darker his face became. When he confirmed that the signatures were genuine, his face went pale, like he'd just crawled out of his grave. He found no problems with these documents. Feng Yanli froze, his expression blank and hollow. Chen Fan stepped forward and stood at the head of the conference room, facing everyone. Then, he raised his voice and said, "As the new majority shareholder of this company, I propose we remove Feng Yanli from the company's decision-making process." "Who's with me?" Jiang Hao hesitated for a moment, then spoke up. "I agree, that even though Chen Fan had surpassed him and become the group's new largest shareholder, he'd rather side with Chen Fan than with Feng Yanli. He and Chen Fan had reached an agreement yesterday." Even with this unexpected turn of events, Chen Fan would still have to honor his word, but if Feng Yanli won, he'd likely be sidelined and eventually pushed out of the company's leadership altogether. "I agree too." "Me too, I'm with Mr. Chen on this." Seeing Jiang Hao take the lead, his loyalists followed suit. At this point, Chen Fan's camp held more than 50% of the group's shares. The three larger shareholders who had just announced their support for Feng Yanli exchanged nervous glances. Finally, Dong Ziyun spoke up. "I take back my previous statement. I'm willing to support Mr. Chen's proposal." "Me too. I agree with Mr. Chen." There was no stopping Chen Fan now. Feng Yanli had already lost. The conditions they'd negotiated with Feng Yanli were now worthless, so they might as well hedge their bets and curry favor with Mr. Chen. With their support, Chen Fan's support rate surged past 70%, sealing Feng Yanli's fate. "I now declare that more than 70% of the company's shareholders agree to remove Feng Yanli from the company's decision-making level, effective immediately. Feng Yanli is no longer authorized to participate in any company decisions." Chen Fan announced the final verdict. "No." Feng Yanli roared in frustration. The next moment, Feng Yanli's vision went black, and he collapsed to the ground, overwhelmed by rage. He was quickly rushed to the hospital. After the board meeting adjourned, countless executives and shareholders swarmed Chen Fan, showering him with flattery. "Mr. Chen, could I have a word with you? I'd like to discuss something." At this moment, Jiang Hao nervously approached and asked in a low voice. Chapter 33. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the meeting, both sides agreed to get together again. "Okay. Chen Fan nodded. Afterward, Chen Fan and Jiang Hao headed to Jiang Hao's office. "Mr. Chen, this will be your office from now on," Jiang Hao said, sounding a bit down since Chen Fan was now the company's biggest shareholder. "No need. This office is still yours, Jiang," Chen Fan said, making a point. Even though he was now the largest shareholder of Linhai Group, Chen Fan wasn't looking to replace Jiang Hao and run the whole show. First off, even if Jiang Hao had his own agenda, he still helped Chen Fan out. Without him, it wouldn't have been so easy to kick Feng Yanli to the curb. Second, running a company takes a ton of energy and time. Chen Fan wasn't about to pour all that into a small-time outfit like Linhai Group. Linhai Group's market value was only around 10 billion. If Chen Fan wanted to surpass the Chen family and even stomp on the Su family, he couldn't do it with Linhai Group alone. Besides, Chen Fan's net worth had already blown past 7 billion yesterday. Today's reward hadn't even landed yet. Once it did, he'd probably break 8 billion, getting him even closer to that 10 billion mark. Chen Fan knew what was really important. Jiang Hao caught Chen Fan's drift and was thrilled. "Mr. Chen, are you serious?" Jiang Hao asked, his voice shaking a little. "Absolutely. You'll still be running Linhai Group day to day. If anything big comes up, we'll talk it through," Chen Fan confirmed. Thank you, Mr. Chen," Jiang Hao said, grabbing Chen Fan's hand and thanking him over and over. With that settled, Chen Fan left Linhai Group and hopped in his car. The system's voice chimed in. Ding. Mission accomplished. Gave Feng Yanli a taste of his own medicine, booted him from Linhai Group's decision-making level, and watched him shoot himself in the foot. Reward, top-tier financial management skills. Reward, 53 experience points. Mission complete. A flood of information poured into Chen Fan's brain. A few minutes later, after processing everything, Chen Fan was a financial whiz, a true master of the game, and on top of that, he racked up 53 experience points from the mission. Chen Fan checked the system. Current system level, Level 1, 303/1500, over 300 points banked already, which was about a fifth of what he needed to level up the system. And keep in mind, it had only been a week since he got the system, and he didn't even figure out the upgrade thing until the third day, so really, it only took him 5 days to collect a fifth of the points he needed to upgrade. That was seriously fast. A smile spread across Chen Fan's face. Just as Chen Fan was feeling good, another surprise popped up. Ding. 7 days post-breakup, you've acquired 4% of Yongtai Real Estate Group, one of Jiangzhou's top companies, and become its vice president. Shares in Yongtai Real Estate Group. Chen Fan's eyes went wide. Yongtai Real Estate Group, a major player in Jiangzhou, was a force to be reckoned with. Right now, the market value of Yongtai Real Estate Group was around 30 billion, so 4% of the shares would be worth about 1.2 billion. In a flash, Chen Fan's net worth hit 8 billion, and he was closing in on that 10 billion. What was even better, the system was throwing in the vice president gig at Yongtai Real Estate Group. That was a serious power move in Jiangzhou. Today was turning out to be a banner day. Just as Chen Fan was about to head back to the villa, he got a text. It was from Xia Mengmeng. She asked if he was free today and wanted to hang out. If Chen Fan was in, they could meet up at Yongjia Shopping Center later. Yongjia Shopping Center, huh? Okay. Chen Fan texted back. It was a good chance to swing by Yongjia Shopping Center anyway. After all, since he'd acquired Yongjia Shopping Center, he'd only been there once, and that was just to buy clothes and sign the contract. Chen Fan hadn't really taken it all in. He hadn't really checked out Yongjia Shopping Center. Now he could go undercover and see what was really going on. 20 minutes later, Chen Fan was at Yongjia Shopping Center, waiting. Before Xia Mengmeng showed up, Chen Fan ducked into a nearby coffee shop, ordered a cup, and chilled out. A few minutes later, Xia Mengmeng arrived. Chen Fan headed out. Hey, wait up, Xia Mengmeng said mysteriously. 2 minutes later, Xia Ruoxue rushed over. Oh, hey, Mr. Chen, you're here too? Xia Ruoxue said, sounding surprised. Mengmeng, what's wrong? Xia Ruoxue asked, looking concerned. Her parents weren't in Jiangzhou, so she was looking after her younger sister. She'd just gotten a text from her saying she wasn't feeling well and needed Xia Ruoxue to come to Yongjia Shopping Center ASAP, so Xia Ruoxue dropped everything and rushed over. "Sis, I'm fine. You're working yourself to death and never get a break. I just wanted you to get out of the office. Take the afternoon off. You've been grinding for almost a month." Xia Mengmeng said, sounding a little worried about her sister, working for a month straight. Chen Fan was stunned. Boss Xia was a total workaholic, she really deserved to be called Jiangzhou's top female CEO. She'd built a company that was on the verge of bankruptcy into what it was today. Hearing her sister say that, Xia Ruoxue was a little annoyed, but also touched. "Oh, shoot, I forgot, I've got homework, bummer. How about this, sis? You and Senior Chen hang out. I gotta run." And with that, Xia Mengmeng took off. She'd invited Senior Chen and her sister out, one after the other, to create a chance for them to be alone. Xia Mengmeng thought her sister and Senior Chen would be perfect together. It would be a waste if they didn't get together, so Xia Mengmeng was playing matchmaker, trying to bring them closer. If she got her sister and Senior Chen together today for dinner, a movie, some shopping, wouldn't that heat things up between them? Man, she was really looking out for her sister's happiness. It wasn't easy. Chapter 34. You are listening at novelfull.audio. They both paused, unsure what to say. "Mr. Chen, do you need some clothes?" "I just happened to be shopping for some myself," Xia Ruoxue suggested. Right then, the system chimed in. Ding. Task, shop with Xia Ruoxue. Reward, 100x consumption rebate card, up to $50 million. Reward, 51 experience points. Another task, and this time the reward was a 100x rebate card. Sweet. Basically, he only needed to spend $500,000 to get a full $50 million back. That's $49.5 million profit. The rebate was insane. Awesome reward. He just bought 1.3% of Tingfei Group's shares, which cost him over $30 million. Completing this task would add nearly $49 million to his working capital. "Sure, I'm in," Chen Fan agreed with a nod. He was mostly there to check out how Yongjia Shopping Center was doing undercover. The reason for going in didn't really matter. If he saw some clothes he liked, he might buy some. Plus, he had a system task now. Chen Fan and Xia Ruoxue headed into Yongjia Shopping Center. They browsed a few stores and eventually stopped at a large luxury boutique. Xia Ruoxue was eyeing a few pieces. "Mr. Chen, what do you think of this coat? I think it would look great on you." While picking out clothes for herself, Xia Ruoxue had also been checking out the men's section. A black coat caught her eye. She grabbed it and held it up for Chen Fan to try on. Not bad, he thought, as Chen Fan took the coat, ready to try it. A preppy guy swaggered in with his girlfriend. "Everybody out. My girlfriend wants to shop," the guy announced arrogantly. The staff looked uneasy. They glanced at the manager, who reluctantly nodded. The staff started ushering people out. One of them approached Chen Fan and Xia Ruoxue, asking them to leave. "Is this guy a VIP or something? How can he pull this?" Chen Fan asked, annoyed. He was about to try on the coat. "What a drag." "No, that's Su Zhouchuan, son of Su Li, the deputy general manager of Yongjia Shopping Center. He basically runs this place. No store dares to cross him," the staff member whispered. A popular restaurant went under a few days after ticking him off. Word is, Su Zhouchuan made it happen. Chen Fan frowned. His undercover visit was already paying off. The son of a deputy general manager was running wild in Yongjia Shopping Center. He wasn't nearly as arrogant as Su Zhouchuan. No wonder Yongjia Shopping Center's business had been declining. He hadn't cared before since he had nothing to do with it. Now that he owned the place, he couldn't just ignore it. If it continued, Yongjia Shopping Center would go bankrupt. "Who gave you the right to clear out the store for yourselves?" Chen Fan asked, ignoring Su Zhouchuan. "Huh. Got a smart aleck here." Su Zhouchuan smirked at Chen Fan. "Who gave me the right?" "My dad did. Got a problem with that?" He's the deputy general manager of Yongjia Shopping Center. I can do whatever I want, Su Zhouchuan replied smugly. Ha! You're messing with my boyfriend on his own turf. You're toast, Su Zhouchuan's girlfriend added. Your boyfriend's turf? Your dad's the deputy general manager. Deputy general manager, huh? Well, he's fired, Chen Fan sneered, his voice laced with authority. Judging from the staff member's reaction, Su Zhouchuan had been abusing his power for a while. Su Li must know about it, yet he let his son continue. In that case, there was no reason to keep him employed. Why keep a deadbeat on the payroll? Ha! Fired my dad? Who do you think you are? Su Zhouchuan roared with laughter, as if hearing a joke. Who am I? I'm Chen Fan, the new owner of Yongjia Shopping Center. Chen Fan replied calmly. The store fell silent. The new owner. Everyone stared at Chen Fan, stunned, especially Su Zhouchuan. He seemed to recall his father mentioning that Yongjia Shopping Center had a new owner, but he couldn't remember the name. It couldn't be this kid. Nice try. You think you can scare me? I'm calling my dad right now to expose your scam. Su Zhouchuan didn't believe that someone younger than him could own Yongjia Shopping Center. He called his dad for confirmation. Son, what's up? Su Li answered, sounding relaxed. He was enjoying tea and music in his office. Dad, I'm at Yongjia Shopping Center. This kid is pretending to be the new owner. You gotta send someone to take him down. Su Zhouchuan whined. What? Pretending to be the owner? He's got a death wish. Su Li smirked. Alright, I'll send someone over to grab him. Su Li said, not giving it a second thought. Just before he could call security, he asked casually, by the way, what's the name of the kid? Chen Fan, Dad. His name's Chen Fan. Su Zhouchuan replied. What? Su Li dropped his teacup, and it shattered on the floor. What did you say the name of the guy pretending to be the owner was? Chapter 35. You are listening at novelfull.audio. They were so swamped they had to put it off until the next day. Su Li asked, trying to sound casual, Chen Fan, what's up with Dad? Su Zhouchuan answered without a second thought, Chen Fan. Su Li shot to his feet, his face ashen. That's the new boss of Yongjia Shopping Center. Where are you? Su Li asked, his voice tight with worry. Su Zhouchuan gave him the location. 3 minutes later, Su Li came rushing in, a nervous sweat on his brow. He spotted Chen Fan standing there in the distance, his expression icy. Boss, why didn't you let us know you were coming? Su Li hurried over, practically tripping over himself to flatter Chen Fan. Everyone in the store just stood there, mouths agape. This young guy was really the big boss of Yongjia Shopping Center. If I had, I wouldn't have seen any of this, now would I? Chen Fan's voice was flat, revealing the contempt he felt for Su Li. Idiot, what are you waiting for? Get out of here, Su Li barked at his son. Hearing this, Su Zhouchuan came forward, trembling. Why are you just standing there? Apologize to the boss. Su Li was scrambling to undo the damage. No need for apologies. I just notified HR, pack your things and leave Yongjia Shopping Center. Chen Fan stated. With that, Chen Fan and Xia Ruoxue grabbed the clothes and left the store. Su Li was stunned. He'd been looking forward to retiring in a few years, collecting his pension, and taking it easy. Now, because of his screw-up of a son, he was out on his ear. Su Li was beyond furious, seething. Su Li went after his son, ready to give him a taste of what he deserved. Meanwhile, Chen Fan and Xia Ruoxue went to put the shopping bags in the car. I didn't realize you owned Yongjia Shopping Center, Mr. Chen. You're incredibly accomplished for your age. Xia Ruoxue couldn't help but marvel. She knew from her sister that Chen Fan was from the wealthy Chen family, but he'd cut ties and was considered the black sheep. Despite all that, he was becoming increasingly successful, which she found admirable. In some ways, she and Chen Fan were kindred spirits. Sorry if that's embarrassing, Ms. Xia. Chen Fan said. He was mortified to have such a subordinate. After that, they continued to browse the mall. When they got to the supermarket and Chen Fan saw the freshly cut beef and lamb, he had an idea. Want to grab some barbecue, Ms. Xia? He asked. Barbecue? I've never had it. Her voice sounded a little sad. Growing up, her family was strict. She couldn't eat junk food. Now, she manages the massive Xia group, which means she's always at high-end restaurants for business, eating fancy meals. Barbecue was never even an option. There were a lot of other everyday treats she'd never had either. Never had it. That's a shame. How about this, Ms. Xia, come to my place tonight, and we'll have a barbecue. Chen Fan said. His villa had a huge yard, perfect for grilling. Okay. Xia Ruoxue agreed. Then, Chen Fan loaded up on all kinds of barbecue fixings, a grill, charcoal, and everything else they'd need. Just then, the system chimed in. Ding. Task. Go shopping with Xia Ruoxue. Reward. 100x consumption rebate card, up to 500 million. Reward. 51 experience points. Task completed. The rebate card received. Chen Fan's net worth had just increased by almost $500 million. He was only a few billion away from hitting 10 billion, so close. With the groceries in tow, Chen Fan and Xia Ruoxue returned to the Yujing Villa area. They began prepping the food in the yard. Xia Ruoxue might not be a great cook, but she could handle chopping vegetables. Just as Chen Fan was getting ready to fire up the grill, Wei Jingxiong called. Mr. Chen, are you free tonight? Let's get dinner. Chen Fan answered, listening to the invitation. Tonight? Sorry, Mr. Wei, I already have plans. He was already planning the barbecue. That's a shame. What about tomorrow? Surely you're free then, right? Wei Jingxiong pressed. Tomorrow works. Chen Fan agreed. Great. My treat. You have to be there, Mr. Chen. Wei Jingxiong said. No problem. Chen Fan confirmed, and they hung up. About half an hour later, Chen Fan's first batch of barbecue was ready. He asked Xia Ruoxue to try it. She took a skewer and took a bite, her eyes widening. This is completely different than the barbecue you get in a restaurant. Xia Ruoxue was pleasantly surprised. After so many fancy barbecue dinners, this simple grilling had a unique flavor that was amazing, right? Chen Fan grinned. He knew his way around a grill, and now that he had top-notch cooking skills, his barbecue was next level. Eating like this could get boring, so he went to the wine cellar and grabbed a few bottles, pouring a glass for himself and Xia Ruoxue. She was next door, so it wasn't a big deal if she had a little too much. Xia Ruoxue hesitated for a moment before taking the glass. She didn't have a high tolerance. She usually didn't drink at all during business events. But Chen Fan was offering, and she'd been under a lot of stress recently, so she took a sip. Her face flushed almost instantly. After one glass, Xia Ruoxue, who was normally reserved, started talking non-stop. Since they were both from wealthy families, they had a lot in common, and the conversation flowed easily. Ms. Xia, maybe that's enough. Should you stop drinking? Seeing that she seemed tipsy, Chen Fan suggested. I'm fine, I can drink a lot. I haven't had too much. She waved her hand, her face flushed. Her usual cool demeanor had given way to a new kind of charm. You know, Mr. Chen, we're friends. There's no need for the Mr. and MS, it's awkward. Xia Ruoxue suggested. At home, being called Ms. Xia felt like being at work. Okay, I'll call you Ruoxue from now on, and you can call me Chen Fan. He agreed, feeling the same way. Ruoxue? Xia Ruoxue blinked. Usually, only her parents and other family elders used that name. It was considered a very intimate name. If another guy had said that, she would have been angry and walked away, but coming from Chen Fan, she didn't feel like resisting, even she couldn't explain why. Chapter 36. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After about a half-hour wait, Xia Mengmeng finally returned. The moment she was about to open the door, she caught a delicious whiff. Like a kid in a candy store, she practically dove into Chen Fan's villa. Seeing Chen Fan and her sister happily chowing down, Xia Mengmeng's eyes went green with envy. Ugh, should have gotten back sooner. She was practically drooling. She was so obsessed with Chen Fan's cooking. Without missing a beat, Xia Mengmeng grabbed a lamb skewer and dug in. While she was eating, she happened to hear Chen Fan call her sister Ruoxue, and her sister didn't even bat an eye. A light bulb went on over Xia Mengmeng's head. Oh my god, she thought, our senior Chen and my sister moving this fast. Looks like my plan worked like a charm today, **** if at first you succeed, try again, **** at this rate, if all goes according to plan, they'll be official in no time, After dinner, Xia Mengmeng and Xia Ruoshui headed out. The next morning, after class, Chen Fan left school in his car. Seeing this, Chen Haowen, who was waiting at the school gate, quickly called his sister, Chen Itsue. Chen Fan's just left school. Got it. Chen Itsue acknowledged the information. After hanging up, she turned to the imposing young man standing next to her. Brother Xingrong, Chen Fan's left Jiangzhou University. This towering figure was Chen Xingrong, the eldest son of Chen Jinping, Chen Itsue's uncle. Chen Xingrong was making a name for himself in Jiangzhou, one of the head honchos in the local underworld with almost 100 guys under his command. All right. Chen Xingrong nodded. He immediately texted one of his guys to tail Chen Fan's car. With brother Xingrong taking the lead, Chen Fan's toast, Chen Itsue exclaimed, barely able to contain her excitement. This time, just to take down Chen Fan, brother Xingrong had called in a full crew of 20 or 30 goons, a guaranteed win. In the eyes of Chen Itsue and Chen Xingrong's father, Chen Xingrong coming after Chen Fan was like bringing a tank to a knife fight. Chen Fan stood no chance. Brother Xingrong was their only hope. Exactly. All your previous schemes were too complicated. Why not just go straight to the source? Talk is cheap, fists do the talking. Chen Xingrong clenched his fists, each the size of a brick, his expression fierce. He planned to beat Chen Fan into submission, forcing him to crawl back and beg forgiveness from his grandfather. Soon, Chen Xingrong got a text from his man. Boss, the kid just pulled up at Tan's restaurant. Looks like he's going in for a bite. Tan's restaurant was one of Jiangzhou's most exclusive private dining clubs. It wasn't open to the public, only catering to its members, making it one of the city's top-tier spots. That punk Chen Fan wants to eat at Tan's, huh? I'll beat him black and blue in a minute. With a wave of his hand, Chen Xingrong led his squad of 20 or 30 toughs, ready for action. 10 minutes later, Chen Xingrong, along with Chen Itsue and his crew, swaggered into Tanjiakai restaurant. The guy who'd been tailing Chen Fan showed Chen Xingrong which private room Chen Fan was in. Chen Xingrong immediately charged forward with his men and kicked the door open. Inside, Chen Fan was looking at his phone. Wei Jingxiong had just messaged him saying he was caught up and would be half an hour late. Chen Fan, finally found you. Chen Xingrong stared down at Chen Fan, a sinister grin spreading across his face. What do you want? Chen Fan asked. What do I want? I want to beat you to a pulp, of course. Chen Xingrong sneered. If you know what's good for you, you'll turn around, get on your knees, apologize to Grandpa, come back to the Chen family, and then go and meet the Su family's daughter. Then, I might consider forgiving you. If you don't blame me for what happens next. Chen Xingrong was itching for a fight. Go back to the Chen family. In your dreams. Chen Fan retorted. Chen Fan, didn't think you were so stubborn. Teach him a lesson, brother Xingrong. Chen Itsue egged him on from the sidelines. All right. Chen Xingrong told his guys to hold back. He wanted to educate his ignorant cousin personally. He strode up to Chen Fan and swung his massive fist. Just as Chen Xingrong was confident he could crush Chen Fan with his size and strength, things went sideways. Chen Fan suddenly stood up and sidestepped Chen Xingrong's punch with a quick move. In a flash, Chen Fan grabbed Chen Xingrong's arm and put his weight into it. Bang. Starred at a deafening crash echoed as Chen Xingrong slammed onto the floor. Chen Xingrong screamed. Everyone in the room was speechless. What just happened? Next to him, Chen Itsue was completely stunned. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Shouldn't it be brother Xingrong who sent Chen Fan flying? How was it possible that the towering brother Xingrong was now sprawled out on the ground? Chen Xingrong's henchman rushed over to help him up. Damn it. Chen Xingrong struggled to his feet, his face twisted with rage. Even he couldn't believe it. How could someone 6'3" and over 200 pounds be taken down by Chen Fan? He was no match for Chen Fan. Is that all you've got? Chen Fan challenged Chen Xingrong. The top-tier fighting skills he'd gotten from the system were really paying off. Chen Fan, didn't think you were this good. I underestimated you. Chen Xingrong tried to regain his composure. I might not be able to beat you, but I've still got my boys, right? You think my crew's just gonna stand here and watch you hit me? Hell no. Chen Xingrong's crew roared in unison. Chen Xingrong nodded, and the 20 or 30 goons he brought with him swarmed into the room, surrounding Chen Fan 3 deep. He might not be able to take Chen Fan in a straight fight, but with all these guys, there was no way they couldn't teach Chen Fan a lesson. Get him. Chen Xingrong, consumed by fury, ordered his men to attack and put Chen Fan in his place. Let's see who dares to touch him. Before Chen Xingrong could finish his sentence, a commanding voice boomed from behind. Chen Xingrong spun around, ready to tear into whoever dared to defy him, but the sight of the person who just arrived stopped him dead in his tracks. Chapter 37. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The guy who walked into the private room then was none other than Jiangzhou's top dog, Wei Jingxiong. Boss Wei? Chen Xingrong asked, his voice shaking. He was just a low-level player in Jiangzhou's underworld. Even his own boss would treat Wei Jingxiong with serious respect. You planning on tearing down my restaurant? Wei Jingxiong asked, his voice like ice. Huh? Chen Xingrong and his crew were dumbfounded. His restaurant. You own Tan's cuisine? Chen Xingrong asked, surprised. That's right. Wei Jingxiong nodded. That was why Wei Jingxiong had once considered taking over Chen Fan's Wangjiang pavilion. But after learning who Chen Fan really was, he changed his tune. Sorry, Boss Wei, my mistake. We'll take this kid outside and deal with it there. Chen Xingrong said quickly, already moving to grab Chen Fan. How dare you? To Chen Xingrong's shock, Wei Jingxiong didn't calm down. He got even angrier. You think you can mess with my guests? You've got some nerve. A terrifying smile spread across Wei Jingxiong's face. Not many people in Jiangzhou would even try that. What? Boss Wei, what are you saying? Chen Xingrong didn't get it. I'm saying, Mr. Chen Fan is my guest. You want to rough up my guests? That's like spitting in my face. Wei Jingxiong replied coldly, what? Chen Fan, Wei Jingxiong's guest. That was a joke, right? Who was Chen Fan, anyway? Why would a big shot like Wei Jingxiong invite him to dinner? Boss Wei, I. Chen Xingrong started to explain, but Wei Jingxiong cut him off. Get your boss down here. You're out of your league. Wei Jingxiong ordered. Knowing he couldn't argue, Chen Xingrong had no choice but to call his boss, by Lin Yun. When Bai Lin Yun heard that Chen Xingrong had offended Wei Jingxiong, he rushed over. Get out. Wei Jingxiong barked at Chen Xingrong's guys. They didn't dare disobey Jiangzhou's big boss and scrambled out to give them space. Mr. Chen, I'm sorry I was delayed. Don't worry, I'll make sure you get a satisfactory explanation for what happened here. Wei Jingxiong apologized to Chen Fan. Alright, bring out the food. Soon, the waiters were bringing in a feast. Chen Fan and Wei Jingxiong ate and talked like old friends. Chen Itsue and Chen Xingrong were completely stunned, watching Chen Fan chatting and laughing with Wei Jingxiong, sharing a meal, and clearly on equal footing. How did Chen Fan get in with Wei Jingxiong? Chen Itsue couldn't understand it. Maybe Chen Fan's visit to Wei Jingxiong last time was because of Xia Group's name, but now, seeing them chatting and laughing, something wasn't adding up. Wei Jingxiong was Jiangzhou's king, a tough and overbearing guy. Even if Chen Fan was tight with Xia Mengmeng, or even Xia Ruoxue, the president of Xia Group, Wei Jingxiong wouldn't be acting like this. Chen Itsue had to admit that Chen Fan was holding his own with Wei Jingxiong, all on his own merits, but how? Chen Fan, the abandoned young man who was cut off from the Chen family, how could he be on the same level as Wei Jingxiong? Chen Itsue was racking her brain, but she couldn't figure it out. Chen Xingrong was even more dumbfounded. Chen Itsue and the others were outsiders and didn't know the underworld, but as someone in the business, Chen Xingrong knew just how impressive it was for Chen Fan to be on par with Wei Jingxiong. Even his boss couldn't do that. Chen Fan, the guy he used to look down on, the one who wasn't good enough for the Chen family, now had this kind of power and status. By the way, Mr. Chen, I invited you here today because I have something important to talk about. I think you'll be very interested. Wei Jingxiong said mysteriously. Interested, huh? Wei Jingxiong's words had piqued Chen Fan's curiosity. Not a good time to talk with outsiders around. I'll tell you privately later. I promise you won't be disappointed. Wei Jingxiong promised. A few minutes later, Chen Xingrong's boss, by Lin Yun, arrived. Your underling attacked my guest. What should I do about that? You tell me, Wei Jingxiong said, leaving Bai Lin Yun no room to maneuver. Brother Wei, it's my fault for not keeping him in line, Bai Lin Yun apologized quickly. What are you waiting for? Get over here and apologize to Brother Wei and his guest. Bai Lin Yun ordered, kneel down and apologize. Chen Itsue was stunned. Did that mean Chen Xingrong had to kneel to Chen Fan? How could this be happening? Chen Xingrong was supposed to be running circles around Chen Fan. How did Chen Fan end up doing that to him? Chen Xingrong hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath, walked forward, and dropped to his knees with a thud. Boss Wei, Chen Fan, I was wrong. Chen Xingrong said, kowtowing. From now on, I'm out of the Jiangzhou underworld. Chen Xingrong knew the rules. After today, he'd never survive in the underworld again, all those years of hard work, down the drain. He couldn't compete with his cousins in the Chen family, so he came to the underworld. And now, all his efforts were wasted. It turned out Chen Fan wasn't the loser. Chen Xingrong's eyes were empty, and he looked like a broken man. Next to him, Chen Itsue was completely despondent. Get lost. Wei Jingxiong waved his hand. He had important things to discuss with Mr. Chen. Thank you, Mr. Wei, thank you. Bai Lin Yun quickly led his men out. Soon, only Chen Fan and Wei Jingxiong were left in the room. Mr. Chen, I know about your issues with the Chen family, Wei Jingxiong said, getting straight to the point. This important matter I'm talking about has to do with them. Do you know that the old man of the Chen family left Jiangzhou in secret these past few days? No, I don't. Chen Fan shook his head. I know why he left, Wei Jingxiong explained. I overheard it yesterday. It has to do with a Chen family secret, and I thought you'd be interested, so I invited you to dinner. Got a Chen family secret? Chen Fan was immediately intrigued. Mr. Chen and his oldest son quietly left Jiangzhou to discuss a partnership with Wanheng Software Group, a big company in Zhonghai province. Wanheng Software Group. Chen Fan frowned. He'd heard of that company. Wanheng Software Group was a leader in Zhonghai province, with massive power, but the Chen family wasn't in the software business, as far as he knew. What were they doing with Wanheng? Seeing Chen Fan's confusion, Wei Jingxiong explained, word is, Wanheng Software Group wants to build a big industrial park in Jiangzhou and needs a real estate developer from Jiangzhou. If you get this project from Wanheng Software Group, you could easily make tens of billions. That's why Mr. Chen went to Wanheng Software Group in secret, so he wouldn't attract attention from other big real estate companies in Jiangzhou. Mr. Chen is dead set on winning this project. Wei Jingxiong was the only one who had told Chen Fan this news. I see. Chen Fan was deep in thought. The Chen family was in real estate. It was one of their main businesses. After hearing Wei Jingxiong, a bold idea formed in Chen Fan's mind, to sabotage the Chen family. Chapter 38. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man was livid with rage, practically on his deathbed. Just then, Chen Fan heard the system notification. Ding. Day 8 of severing ties. Reward, 5% stake in Yongtai Real Estate Group, making you the fourth largest shareholder. Share purchase agreement located in your study for review. Chen Fan's heart skipped a beat at the system's generous reward. Today's bonus was even bigger than yesterday's. Yongtai Real Estate Group was worth roughly $30 billion, meaning 5% of the company was valued at $1.50 billion. More importantly, this $1.5 billion instantly pushed Chen Fan's net worth over $10 billion. From now on, Chen Fan was Jiangzhou's youngest billionaire. With assets in the tens of billions, Chen Fan was now officially one of Jiangzhou's elite. It had only been 8 days since he cut ties with the Chen family, and he'd gone from a broke college student with a few bucks to his name, to a multi-billionaire. Having a system was unbelievably awesome. Including today's gift, Chen Fan now controlled 9% of Yongtai Real Estate Group, making him the company's fourth largest shareholder. Now, Chen Fan's crazy idea didn't seem so crazy anymore, since the Chen family was so invested in winning the Wanheng Software Group's industrial park project in Jiangzhou. Chen Fan knew he had to get in on it. With tens of billions of dollars at his disposal, Chen Fan had the leverage he needed to fight the Chen family, plus, being the fourth largest shareholder and a vice president at Yongtai Real Estate Group would make things even easier. When it came to real estate, Yongtai Real Estate Group was a much bigger player than the Chen family. If he could represent Yongtai Real Estate Group and snatch the software park project right out from under the Chen family, Old Man Chen and the rest of the Chen family would be absolutely thrilled. And he'd make a ton of money doing it, a win-win. The more Chen Fan thought about it, the more viable the plan seemed. Mr. Chen, if you need anything, come to me. We're friends. Wei Jingxiong said suggestively. He'd given Chen Fan inside information on the Chen family to get in his good graces. As for the Chen family's potential losses, that wasn't his problem. Thank you, Mr. Wei. Chen Fan nodded, remembering Wei Jingxiong's favor. After deciding to sabotage the Chen family's deal, Chen Fan now faced two obstacles. First, he didn't know anyone at Wanheng Software Group. To sabotage the Chen family and snag the project, he needed to connect with the company's executives. The higher up, the better, Chen Fan asked Wei Jingxiong, but Wei Jingxiong said he didn't know anyone there either. He'd have to shelve that for now. Second, Chen Fan had to figure out how to convince the shareholders of Yongtai Real Estate Group to back his plan to take down the Chen family. This seemed easier. With billions of dollars at stake, who wouldn't be tempted? Being the fourth largest shareholder of Yongtai Real Estate Group would certainly help. As Chen Fan was pondering, he received a call. It was Yang Xingping, the chairman and largest shareholder of Yongtai Real Estate Group. Yang Xingping congratulated Chen Fan on becoming a shareholder. He also wanted to meet him in person and get acquainted. By the way, Mr. Chen, I'm hosting a cocktail party tomorrow night and have invited many of Jiangzhou's wealthiest residents. Would you care to join us? Yang Xingping asked. Absolutely. Chen Fan replied. He wanted to meet with Yang Xingping to discuss sabotaging the Chen family's deal anyway. Now that Yang Xingping had reached out, he wasn't going to refuse. Wonderful. I'll have someone deliver an invitation to you shortly. Where should I send it? Yang Xingping asked. Just send it to Jiangzhou University. Chen Fan said. Jiangzhou University? Yes, I'm attending classes there this afternoon. Chen Fan explained. Still taking classes? Yang Xingping was stunned, impressed by Chen Fan's youth and success. After dinner, Chen Fan left. During the afternoon break, Chen Fan received Yang Xingping's invitation. When Chen Fan saw the inscription, inviting Mr. Chen Fan and his guest to attend a cocktail party tomorrow night, he paused. He didn't have a guest, but going alone shouldn't be a problem. After his last class, Chen Fan returned to the villa. That evening, Xia Ruoxue brought him some fruit. Looking at Chen Fan, Xia Ruoxue seemed a little embarrassed. Chen Fan, I can't hold my liquor very well. Did I embarrass myself last night? Not at all. Chen Fan shook his head. Xia Ruoxue, a little tipsy the night before, had been pretty cute. There was quite a contrast between drunk Xia Ruoxue and the Xia Ruoxue he usually saw. Huh. Xia Ruoxue noticed the invitation Chen Fan had set aside. Chen Fan, did you get Chairman Yang's invitation too? Xia Ruoxue asked in surprise. Ruoxue, were you invited? Chen Fan asked. Yes, but I don't have a date, so I didn't really want to go. Xia Ruoxue explained. Without a date, she'd be swarmed by annoying suitors. It would be easier not to go at all. I don't have a date either. How about we go together tomorrow? Chen Fan suggested. Xia Ruoxue's eyes lit up. Okay. She agreed. With a date, hopefully, no one would bother her at the party tomorrow, and Chen Fan would probably make a good date. Chen Fan and Xia Ruoshui chatted for a while, and Chen Fan suddenly thought of the Wanheng Software Group issue, so he asked Xia Ruoshui if she knew anyone there. He wasn't expecting much, but he was about to get an unexpected answer. Chapter 39. You are listening at novelfull.audio. They were both freaking out, and things were a total mess. Wanheng Software Group. Yeah, I know them. The Xia family has some shares in Wanheng Software Group, Xia Ruoshui said. Really? Chen Fan was surprised. He knew the Xia family was a big deal, and that the Xia group in Jiangzhou was just one of their holdings, but he didn't realize they were so powerful they had a stake in a giant like Wanheng. One of Wanheng's VPs is my cousin. Xia Ruoshui went on. Why the sudden interest in Wanheng? Well, here's the thing. I'm planning to take down the Chen family and snatch that Wanheng Software Group project right out from under them. Chen Fan filled her in. Okay, here's what I'll do. I'll reach out to my cousin, Xia Wenyu, and see what's going on at Wanheng. Then we can talk. Xia Ruoshui offered. Chen Fan had helped her out before, and now it was her turn to return the favor. She was determined to do her best. Xia Ruoshui grabbed her phone and called Xia Wenyu. Hey, Ruoshui, what's up? A woman's voice answered. It was Xia Wenyu, Xia Ruoshui's cousin. Xia Wenyu's dad had married into the Xia family, so she took her mother's last name. Sister Wenyu, I heard Wanheng is planning to build a big industrial park in Jiangzhou, is that right? Xia Ruoshui asked. Yeah, we were just discussing it at a meeting this afternoon. Why do you ask? Doesn't your branch in Jiangzhou have real estate interests? Xia Wenyu asked, puzzled. If Xia Ruoshui's company was in real estate, they'd naturally be Wanheng's first choice as a partner. Have you decided which real estate company will get the project? Not yet, but according to VP Han, who's in charge, he's leaning towards Chen's construction company in Jiangzhou. Sister Wenyu, a good friend of mine's real estate company is also interested in the project. Is there anything you can do to help? Xia Ruoshui asked tentatively. I can't, honey. I'm not in charge, and I'm not on good terms with VP Han. My hands are tied. Xia Wenyu said regretfully. Sister Wenyu, please. If you can pull this off, I'll throw in the towel at the family's annual meeting this year. Xia Ruoshui said, gritting her teeth. The Xia family held an annual meeting with competitions and evaluations within the family. Xia Wenyu never stood a chance against Xia Ruoshui in previous years. Now, to help Chen Fan, Xia Ruoshui was making a huge sacrifice. Hearing this, Xia Wenyu immediately perked up. Ruoshui, this isn't like you. Is this, good friend, a guy or a girl? Xia Wenyu asked, all ears. He's a guy. Xia Ruoshui answered, blushing. Got it. I'll do my best to help. I'll let you know if I hear anything. Xia Wenyu chuckled, understanding perfectly, knowing Ruoshui, the guy she'd do something like this for must be special. He might even become family one day. Thanks, Sister Wenyu. After a few more pleasantries, Xia Ruoshui hung up. While Chen Fan and Xia Ruoshui were talking, the Chen family in Jiangzhou was also deep in discussion. Chen Jinping, the fourth son of the Chen family, called Grandpa Chen. Dad, how are the negotiations for the Wanheng Software Group's industrial park project going? Chen Jinping asked, curious. Almost done. I had a good chat with VP Han, who's in charge. He's coming to Jiangzhou in a couple of days for an inspection. Make sure you wine and dine him. Give him whatever he wants. We'll sign the contract then and there. Grandpa Chen instructed. Once they hooked VP Han, the project would be theirs. Billions in profits would be flowing straight into the Chen family's pockets. The thought made Mr. Chen grin. Oh, and how's the situation with that little punk, Chen Fan? Mr. Chen asked pointedly. Well, Dad, somehow Chen Fan got in touch with Wei Jingxiong. Now Wei Jingxiong's protecting him, and Xingrong and the others have failed again. Chen Jinping said helplessly. Useless. Xingrong couldn't even handle Chen Fan. Mr. Chen exploded. Let Chen Fan enjoy his moment of glory. We'll secure the Wanheng Software Group project first. That's the top priority. Once we've got that locked down, we can deal with Chen Fan. Mr. Chen thought for a moment and made a decision. The Wanheng Software Group project was close to being finalized. With billions on the line, Mr. Chen was determined to win, so Chen Fan would have to wait. Dad, should I call Faming back to deal with Chen Fan? Suddenly, the eldest son of the Chen family suggested. Chen Faming, the eldest son and grandson of the Chen family, was the best of the younger generation. He aced his college entrance exams and went to a top university. Mr. Chen called him the Chen family's unicorn, the hope of their future. He valued Chen Faming greatly, believing the Chen family's future rested on his shoulders. Have Faming come back, huh? Mr. Chen hesitated, then refused. Faming was their hope. His time was too precious to waste on dealing with Chen Fan. Chen Fan wasn't worth it. Chen Fan doesn't need Faming. Have the third son call Wenjing back and let her take care of it. Grandpa Chen decided to have Chen Wenjing handle it instead. In the Chen family, Chen Wenjing was second only to Chen Faming. She'd be the star of the younger generation in any other wealthy family in Jiangzhou, but Chen Faming's brilliance overshadowed her. Yes, father. Chen Jinping nodded. After hanging up, Chen Jinping contacted Chen Wenjing. She didn't want to get involved, but receiving an order from her grandfather, Chen Wenjing had no choice but to agree. She would return to Jiangzhou in the next couple of days to deal with Chen Fan. Time ticked by. The next day at noon, just after Chen Fan finished class, the system chimed in. The reward for the 9th day of cutting ties was here. This time, the reward was completely unexpected. Chapter 40. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Happy New Year. Ding. Day 9 of no contact. Reward, 5% ownership of Yongtai Real Estate Group, making you the third largest shareholder. Chen Fan was ecstatic when he saw today's reward, another 5% of Yongtai Real Estate Group. Awesome. Compared to other rewards, Yongtai Real Estate stock is where it's at right now. This 5% brings Chen Fan's total stake in Yongtai Real Estate to 14%, officially making him the third largest shareholder. This improves his chances of swaying the other Yongtai Real Estate shareholders, and it also boosts his plan to take down the Chen family. Plus, 5% of Yongtai Real Estate is worth a cool $1.5 billion. That pushes Chen Fan's net worth over $11.5 billion. If the next few days' rewards are all Yongtai Real Estate stock, I could become the top shareholder. Chen Fan said, full of hope, becoming the majority shareholder of a $30 billion company. What a rush. It'll make dealing with the Chen family a whole lot easier. Later that afternoon, Luo Zhixin, owner of Zuixinlu, sought out his benefactor, Fan Hongkai, head of the Fan Group. Luo Zhixin had learned that Wei Jingxiong dined with Chen Fan at Tanjiakai yesterday. Luo Zhixin now believed Chen Fan and Wei Jingxiong had ties. Had he known this before, Luo Zhixin never would have messed with Wangjiang Pavilion, but it was too late for regrets. To save his own skin, Luo Zhixin had to ask Fan Hongkai for help. Xiao Luo, you're so short-sighted. A small-time restaurant owner has got you all worked up, Fan Hongkai said dismissively. You're my guy. Think big. The Wangjiang Pavilion boss and his supposed connection to Wei Jingxiong mean nothing. Chen Fan is nobody in my book. Fan Hongkai wasn't worried about Chen Fan, the small-time restaurant guy. Wangjiang Pavilion was worth maybe $10 billion, peanuts. I'm going to a VIP cocktail party tonight. Why don't you come along? Broaden your horizons. Save you from obsessing over some restaurant owner. Fan Hongkai was in high spirits and decided to give Luo Zhixin some pointers. Really? Thank you, Mr. Fan. Thank you. Luo Zhixin was thrilled, completely energized. If he could use this opportunity to network with some big shots, he could forget all about Chen Fan. One word from him, and Chen Fan would be scared stiff, begging him to take Wangjiang Pavilion. That evening, Chen Fan picked up Xia Ruoshui. Tonight, Xia Ruoshui was wearing a black evening gown, showing off her porcelain skin and collarbones, absolutely stunning. Chen Fan was speechless when he first saw her, a little over a half hour. Later, Chen Fan and Xia Ruoshui arrived at the estate of Yang Xingping, Yongtai Real Estate Group's biggest shareholder. Chen Fan asked Xia Ruoshui to head inside while he found parking. Yang Xingping had invited a lot of guests tonight, and parking was tight. He hadn't seen any open spaces. Xia Ruoshui got out of the car and went to the manor. Her arrival, the most beautiful female CEO in Jiangzhou, created quite the stir. Immediately, many wealthy people and bigwigs of Jiangzhou came over to say hello. President Xia, since you don't have an escort, how about I be your date tonight? A tall, handsome guy made the first move. Hearing this, some men around him were immediately annoyed. That was their plan, but how dare he jump the line? But when these guys got a better look at this tall man, they shut up. This guy was Qian Bowen, the oldest son of the Qian family, one of Jiangzhou's richest families. He was the top of the Qian family's younger generation and expected to take over the company. They were no match for Qian Bowen. No, I have a date, Xia Ruoshui said without hesitation. Qian Bowen was one of those annoying guys she had mentioned before. You have a date? I don't see anyone. Qian Bowen looked around and continued to bother Xia Ruoshui. President Xia, are you saying that to turn me down? You don't have a date. You should consider me. Qian Bowen pressed on. Who says Ruoshui doesn't have a date? A voice cut through the chatter. Then, to everyone's surprise, Chen Fan walked up. Xia Ruoshui instinctively linked her arm with Chen Fan's to prove that he was her date. Qian Bowen and the other guys shot jealous glares at Chen Fan, their eyes practically bulging out of their heads. Xia Ruoshui had never been linked to anyone in Jiangzhou. She always attended events alone, no date. How did she suddenly get a boyfriend? Compared to the others, Qian Bowen was humiliated. What did you call President Xia just now? Qian Bowen asked in disbelief. He couldn't believe what he heard. Ruoshui, is there a problem? Chen Fan asked, unfazed. Ruoshui. This guy called President Xia Ruoshui, such an intimate name. Everyone was even more stunned, noticing Chen Fan's familiarity with Xia Ruoshui. If it was anyone else, President Xia would have given them the cold shoulder, but now, President Xia was still holding his arm, as if she was okay with this intimate nickname. This meant the two had something going on. Jiangzhou's most beautiful CEO finally found someone. Instantly, everyone was even more jealous. This kid hit the jackpot. President Xia, you chose such a regular guy as your date. You have terrible taste. Qian Bowen glared at Chen Fan, furious. He was better than this guy in every way, looks, style, family background. Xia Ruoshui chose this guy over him. In a rage, Qian Bowen stormed off. Chen Fan saw that Xia Ruoshui didn't like being surrounded by so many people, so he took her to the side. Chen Fan grabbed 2 glasses of juice and gave one to Xia Ruoshui. Boss Yang's estate is really something. Chen Fan looked around the whole property, impressed. He was a little jealous last time he visited Wei Jingxiong's estate. If he ever got the chance, he'd get a big estate like this to live in and see how it felt. Chen Fan had never lived in an estate as a kid. It's pretty great, Xia Ruoshui agreed. Just as Chen Fan and Xia Ruoshui were talking, a voice cried out. Chen Fan, how did you sneak in past security?